Viewers, as it approaches its one-year anniversary, the conflict in the Middle East is dangerously close to spiraling into an all-out multi-nation conflict. Now, that's because in just the last 2 weeks, Israel has decimated the hierarchy of terror group Hezbollah in Lebanon. After pager blast and walkie-talkie blast, precision aerial and rocket assaults have taken out the Hezbollah's top leadership. And in the latest, Israel has launched ground operations into Lebanon as well. While Hezbollah has come under fire to Israel's north, well, to its south, the Houthis in Yemen have also been struck. Meanwhile, the conflict in Gaza continues as well, with Hamas remaining in Israel and Mossad's crosshairs, and blasts were also reported in neighboring Syria's capital. It is important to note as well that Israel isn't only an aggressor. All the regimes against it, including Iran, have launched rockets or drone attacks against Israel, though few have been able to hit their mark because of Israel's sophisticated defense capabilities, which include the Iron Dome missile defense system. Let's listen in to what Israel has said to its enemies.
אנחנו רואים היום את התקיפה במרחק של 2,000 קילומטר בחודדה ובסביבתה, וההישגים כמו שהם משתקפים לנו הם מאוד מרשימים. והמשמעות היא ברורה, מי שמנסה לתקוף אותנו או לפגוע באזרחי ישראל ישלם מחיר כבד מאוד. אין לנו עניין להרחיב את המלחמה, אין לנו עניין לחפש חזיתות נוספות, אבל אם מישהו יתקוף את ישראל כמו שעשו החות'ים לאחרונה, בטילים ולאורך כל המלחמה, בתקק ובתלשים ובכטב"מים, כל אחד שיבצע פעולה כזאת, אנחנו נבוא איתו חשבון, ואנחנו יודעים לעשות את זה במקביל לדברים אחרים. ביום הזה חיל האוויר, צה"ל, תקפו גם בלבנון וגם בעזה וגם כאן, ואנחנו יכולים לפעול בעוד מקומות.
כל מי שפוגע, מנסה לפגוע באזרחי מדינת ישראל, נגיע אליו. זה הכי פשוט. ונעמיד כל ערכה שנצטרך עם כל יכולת שיש לנו, ויש לנו פה עוד יכולות רבות להעמיק, להרחיב את הפגיעה.
Now, as this escalation has taken place, the United States of America has completely backed Israel, terming it Israel's right to self-defense. Now, this comes even as U.S. President Joe Biden has stated that escalation should be avoided at all costs. Listen in to President Biden and a report from the United States of America.
Can all-out war in the Middle East be avoided? It has to be. We really have to avoid it. We've already taken precautions relative to our embassies and personnel who want to leave, but we're not there yet. But we're working like hell with the French and many others to see the good work.
Lebanon is on fire after Israel's weekend assassination of Hezbollah's leader, a move that threatens to let loose a wider war in the region. On Monday, President Joe Biden was unequivocal about what needs to happen next.
I'm more aware than you might know, and I'm comfortable with them stopping. We should have a ceasefire now.
But the question is how? How is Washington, Israel's main weapons supplier, going to pull the plug on this violence? VOA asked the White House.
Our policy has not changed. It just hasn't. It has not changed.
Lebanon's leaders say they have no faith in Israel's intentions.
The government is doing everything in its power to confront this destructive, hateful war that Israel is waging against us. And we went to the United Nations looking for a solution, and we met with world leaders. But the enemy went with the intention of treachery and planning more massacres.
And Israel's leader indicated Monday that he is digging in for a fight.
We are at war for our very existence. We will join forces, go hand in hand, and defeat our enemies.
Meanwhile, Washington is joined by other powers in begging for this to stop.
There is still hope, but time is short. I therefore urge Israel to refrain from any ground incursions and to a ceasefire. I call on Hezbollah to do the same and to refrain from any action likely to lead to regional destabilization.
Analysts say Biden and allies have given Netanyahu options to stop the violence by pushing for a 21-day ceasefire in Lebanon and a deal to free hostages held by Hamas in Gaza as a step toward ending that conflict.
Well, unfortunately, I would say that the history of their conversations over the past year has been that regardless of what the president's arguments are, regardless of what he has pushed, Benjamin Netanyahu is following his own course and is not responding to U.S. concerns or advice.
For the people of southern Lebanon and for the region, these are not abstract discussions. This is a matter of life or death.
Now, viewers, a number of defense experts have spoken on the latest series of escalations. Their views pertain to many aspects of this conflict. Listen in.
The war in Ukraine, Palestine, Gaza is now slowly spreading to Lebanon and Yemen, besides Syria, as also the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea channels and the Gulf of Aden. What are the pivotal global crises that are taking place? There are forced displacements in Palestine and Gaza, as also giving rise to famine risk. In Ukraine, infrastructure damage and lives are in danger. In Syria, destruction, displacement and spread of diseases. Similarly, in Lebanon, there is destruction and the spread of various kinds of diseases taking place. There are severe humanitarian crises being generated in Yemen.
The whole energy block of the world, the biggest block, will get affected. And you know, when energy prices, when diesel price, petrol price, everything goes up, gas price go up, so everything else goes up. Transportation gets expensive. Day-to-day things like even vegetables being carried from one place to another, everything gets affected. So the impact, if I had to summarize it, it is going to be very, very adverse. India, the biggest strength we have is we can actually survive.
This shows that in the coming days, the economy of the world is going to be impacted very severely. We have to prepare for that, and it is better for India that we look into alternatives to ensure that our way of growth that is going on today does not get impacted at all. Because these wars are not going to stop so soon, and the people behind getting these wars, or rather supporting these various groups, are not going to let go very easily.
Let's now go across to my colleague Rishabh joining us on the phone line for more on this. Rishabh, we heard the experts here, all of them clearly out of the view, the way things are, the war is definitely not going to stop. Now, looking at IDF's actions, IDF had named the operation to kill Nasrallah, the new order, and now the operation which involves operation on the ground in Lebanon, it's being called as Northern Arrows. What more details can you share with us? And what about the Indians in Lebanon? How is New Delhi viewing the developments that are taking place?
Well, taking it from the last question first, how is New Delhi viewing situation in Lebanon? Last week itself, India has issued an advisory for all the Indian nationals who are traveling to Lebanon to avoid travel to Lebanon. And people who are already in Lebanon have been asked to leave Lebanon as soon as possible, given that there is imminent airstrike and other issues that might affect their well-being. As of now, New Delhi is very closely monitoring. We haven't had an official statement coming in from India or Indian External Affairs Ministry regarding this issue, but we expect one coming in very, very soon. Apart from that, if we talk about how things are and what Israel's plan is, remember last year as well, after 7th October, this attack in southern areas of Israel, the way Israel began its operation, it was in a way first it was airstrike, then it was limited incursion, and then we saw a full-blown offensive in Gaza. Here in Lebanon, things are different. Here, the chief of Hezbollah has been killed. The top leadership has virtually been wiped out, and now Israel is targeting the outposts or those places where they believe that the Hezbollah operatives are there.
Right.
Israel has already crippled Hezbollah in last 1 week.
Right.
And now this war will not last long, given that Hezbollah doesn't have that much of retaliatory power against Israel.
All right, Rishabh, appreciate you joining us and putting things in perspective for our viewers. Let me now go across to my colleague Ankit as well. Ankit, Rishabh gave us a sense of how things stand on the ground, and I will like you to explain to our viewers a little bit about the Middle East crisis that we are seeing right now. What started as a Israel-Gaza war has now become Israel-Hezbollah war, and how Iran is also trying to, send a message to Israel, especially after what happened with the top leadership of Hezbollah.
Most definitely. So let's see how it's playing out on the map. Now, this is Israel. We've opened up Israel here, and paths that are marked within Israel are Gaza essentially, and that is where Hamas has been operating. So far for almost a year, Hina, the conflict had been focused around this part right adjacent to the Mediterranean, and that was where it was localized. However, now you have two other countries and two other terror groups entering the fray. First of all, Yemen, and this is where the Houthis operate from. So Yemen, you can see it's right below Saudi Arabia. It's across from the Red Sea from Israel, and that is where the Houthis are operating from. So Israel has been attacking the Houthis over in Yemen. The Houthis are also conducting piracy operations, and that is why you've seen some amount of shipping destabilization in that region. So that is one in Yemen, and now the latest escalation has taken place to the north of Israel. Remember, Lebanon is a small country. Hezbollah operates from Lebanon. Now that is the border via which Israel has infiltrated into southern Lebanon. That makes it to the north of Israel, which is why I presume it's called Northern Arrows. So in Lebanon you have Hezbollah, in Yemen you have the Houthis, in Gaza you have Hamas. All of these three, Hamas, the Houthis and Hezbollah, are all in one way or the other said to be proxies of Iran. This is Iran. And one other thing I'd like to point out is that the US has deployed vast naval assets to this region. Wherever you see these anchors, this is where it is stated as per reports that America has moved its destroyers and carrier fleets. So you have one in the Red Sea, you have in the Persian Gulf. This is to protect shipping through the Suez Canal, and then you also have on the Mediterranean. So essentially what the US is doing by all accounts is ensuring that while Israel can fight back against terrorists, no other regime, no other actor, whether it's Iran or someone else, can impact Israel adversely. So that is essentially what's going on. And also we are hearing, before I toss it over, in Syria, which is right next to Lebanon and Israel, also in Damascus, there has been some kind of explosion last night. That is also being linked to Israel. It's unconfirmed at the moment.
All right, Ankit, appreciate you joining us and putting things in perspective for our viewers on what's happening in the Middle East right now. Now, viewers, here in India, on what is happening in the Middle East, there is a diplomatic angle that has emerged. That's because Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken to Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last evening, and he gave a twofold message. Prime Minister Modi said that escalation should be avoided, but also added that there is no place for terrorism in the world. To this, the Congress party has raised a serious objection, asking why the Prime Minister is attempting to resolve conflicts overseas while Manipur continues to burn here in India. At the same time, India has been witness to a curious set of prayer meets and protests over the assassination of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah. Now, this is after the PDP and some other politicians from J&K seeking official days of mourning in India over Nasrallah's killing. Here are some reactions.